Good morning and welcome to the DFS YouTube channel. I'm Razzle11 and you can find me on X at Razzle11Grinds. Going to take a look at the pitching for today, the 14th of September. It is Sunday. We do have a 9-game main slate ahead of us today. We do not have any weather to worry about at all, so we can just dig in for the matchups as they are. This is a first look at the pitching options on the slate, and I will be looking at DraftKings as that is where a majority of my action is. If you do play on FanDuel, I'll cut my pool in half or so. Pricing isn't quite as tight. You don't have to be as creative. It allows you to get stacks you want with an upper tier-ish pitcher. Now with all that said and done, let's just jump into the first game right away. Framber Valdez, Joey Wentz. Valdez has been kind of all over the place over the last month and a half. Really just one solid, strong start in a month and a half. His K numbers have kind of been down since a 12 strikeout performance at the end of July. But I think a majority of the Atlanta lineup is weak enough that I think there's upside for him here. I really wish he was still that automatic quality start guy that he was just a couple years ago. I just don't think that guy's coming back. He just has some volatility now, but he certainly has upside. 40 fantasy points at one point this season. Numerous 30-plus fantasy point performances as well. So I can't pass on the upside that Framber Valdez provides. Joey Wentz, a couple of solid starts in a row coming into this one. Had a couple not so great starts prior. It's not the best of matchups for a left-hander. Houston, very right-hand heavy. But, he might get them. I think Altuve left Saturday's game early. So there might be something up with him, making the lineup a little weaker. I am debating keeping Wentz in my pool. I don't necessarily want to, but I think it makes sense right now. I will be curious to see what the Houston lineup is, and that might be the tiebreaker for me. Kansas City, Philadelphia, Nola and Cameron. Nola's just looked rough in his return. He's coming off of a strong start. But we kind of saw him have a strong start against Washington and then followed up with a couple not so good starts after it. I think he's going to have troubles with some consistency. Plus, Kansas City doesn't strike out all that much. I just don't think it's a good matchup for him, so he's not somebody I'm planning on using. On the other side, Noah Cameron. I do think I am going to mix him in a little bit. Being without Trey Turner, without Alec Bohm, I do think that hurts the Philly lineup against left-handed pitching enough. He's coming off a pretty solid start. Hadn't put a start like that since the end of July. So recent trends aren't all that great. And I do believe that this ballpark is set up for some offense. A little warmer. I think there's some slight wind maybe blowing out, but I do think I want to use some Noah Cameron. He's probably going to be one of my lowest owned pitchers because I just don't want to get too heavy on him. But he does get the matchup benefit, without Trey Turner and Alec Bohm. Baltimore, Toronto, next matchup. Shane Bieber. I don't know if I want to go to Bieber. Baltimore's offense has been pretty weak. He just hasn't looked as strong since his debut with Toronto, roughly 3 weeks ago. Each start since then has kind of gotten worse from a fantasy perspective. I still think there's the upside in here, so I'm probably going to end up using him. I just don't like the recent trends at all. Other side, Albert Suarez. I'm not sure how many innings he's going to go. He just threw an inning a few days ago. Hasn't really done much. I would guess he's probably like a 3 to 4 inning guy. But we know that Toronto doesn't strike out enough, so just no real reason to consider Suarez at this point. White Sox, Guardians. Yoendris Gomez, somebody that we've used. I'm not sure I'm going to get there in this spot. He did make one relief appearance against Cleveland. Wasn't bad, but just didn't pick up any strikeouts. He hasn't been very good on the road. I think I did see that the wind is blowing in from center in Cleveland, so it might help the pitchers, but I just don't think I can get to Gomez. So Ciccone on the other side, I am going to get there. Coming off of a very strong start. Strikeouts weren't really there. They've kind of been all over the place. And overall, the White Sox haven't really been striking out a whole lot. He did struggle against the White Sox just over a month ago. But like I mentioned, wind blowing in Cleveland, I think there's a benefit for the pitchers. He allows a lot more contact when pitching at home, which is a little worrisome as well. But I think Ciccone probably just solid enough to be in our pool on this particular slate. Rangers, Mets. Jacob Letts, somebody that I'm interested in a little bit. I tried to pick him up in a dynasty league, but it looks like my waiver did not get through for him. I don't necessarily love the matchup for him, but the Mets as a team have definitely been struggling. And Letts has been pretty solid. He has just one appearance where he's allowed more than 2 earned runs on the season. So I think there's enough upside. Just enough upside, really. His last time out was basically his best performance of the season. Did get to 84 pitches. Probably could see about 90, maybe 95 pitches if things go well. So Lance is definitely somebody I want to utilize. On the other side, Nolan McLean, 4 really great starts and then 1 not so great. And he only allowed 1 run in that last start. So he had picked up a win in each of the first 4 starts, and that win points obviously helped quite a bit. But he's actually been really strong. The overall Texas lineup just doesn't scare me that much. I mean, we keep going to pitchers against them, and they keep kind of disappointing me, but still, I think Nolan McLean has a ton of upside. I use Sproat a lot, and that was after Tong was destroyed in the first inning alone. So I will be going back to the Mets starter in Nolan McLean. Detroit, Miami, I'm just not interested here. Both pitchers have a lot of trouble with left-handed bats. I did look at these guys' numbers before I started this video. Pretty strong splits. Left-handed bats have done a ton of damage. Missouri gets a little bit of K upside against against Detroit, but I'm just not ready to go there. I just don't think we need to. Minnesota, Arizona. Bailey Ober might make it into play. 20-plus fantasy points in 2 out of his last 4 starts. I do worry about some home runs because he can give up a lot of home runs. 29 of them to be exact. Basically 1 every 4 innings. Just over 4 innings. So, somewhere around 2.1 to 2.2 per 9. It's a pretty strong number. He is better when at home, where he's at today. The overall Arizona lineup's not overly dangerous, so I do think I'm going to sprinkle in some Bailey Ober at 6,900, but that's partially just because I think the slate lacks any true pitching upside, really, outside of maybe a couple guys. The other side, Nabel Krzmat, as gross as it feels, he's going to make it in my pool. I did end up having to pick him up for a hope at a quality start and a win. In dynasty leagues, it feels gross, but when I look at this slate as a whole, I think I see a route where Krzmat somehow manages to be SB2, putting up 16 to 18 fantasy points. Curious to see what the Minnesota lineup is. Wallner was out of it yesterday. I wouldn't be shocked if Buxton gets the day off on a Sunday. we just could see a weaker lineup, and I think that would make things better for Kismet. I don't think he has a ton of upside. He's not a huge K guy by any means, but might be somebody that I'm just sprinkling in hopes that I get the Dart SB2 correct. Milwaukee, St. Louis, I'm not going to get to either pitcher. I think Quintana's probably a better play than Kismet, really. But St. Louis doesn't really strike out a whole lot. And walks have been up for Quintana. And also the fact that the Brewers clinched the postseason spot. I wonder if some of their pitchers might, kind of be dialed back a little bit to stay fresh. Something that we're going to want to pay attention to for sure over the next 2 weeks. So for that, I think I'm just going to pass on Quintana, but he probably makes more sense than Kismet, if I'm being honest. Miles Mikolas, definitely not somebody I'm utilizing. Last game on the slate, Tampa Bay and Chicago. Tampa Bay against a lefty. I'm going to be using Shota Imanaga. I think the winds were blowing in Wrigley, just slightly, in from left, so they are slightly blowing in. He hasn't been all that sharp. He's been giving up home runs, so that's a worry. Strikeouts haven't really been there either. Another worry. But for much of the season, we've been able to just almost blindly plug left-handed pitching in against Tampa Bay, and that's performed well. I don't think it has performed as well over the last month, but still, I think Shota is super interesting. As a fly ball guy with the wind blowing in, I want to utilize him a little bit. On the other side, Adrian Hauser is probably fine. Decent fantasy performances the last two with 17 strikeouts, but he's still giving up runs. It's not like he's been dominant by any means. 3+ earned runs allowed in 3 out of his last 4 starts, and 7 of his last 9. Just not great trends for Adrian Hauser. Even though the Cubs lineup overall has kind of struggled, especially without Kyle Tucker. But I just can't get there. So I'll pass on Hauser, play some Imanaga. Really, the decisions kind of come down to, do I really want to rely on Kismet? Is Ober the cheapest guy I want to go with? Is Quintana just viable? Take 18 fantasy points and plug it in as the SB2? Decisions will definitely have to be made, but there we have it. There's the first look at pitching. If you enjoy what I bring to you, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell on, get the alert anytime we drop videos here at DFS Army. If you want to join us, get access to our coaches, tools, sheets, Discord, etc., I will drop a link in the description below. I believe today is the last day you can use promo code MILLY, M-I-L-L-Y, for 20% off any membership for as long as you are signed up. That is our best offer percentage-wise to date, and from my understanding, will be the best one that we do ever put out there. I will also put a link to our merch store in the description. You can check out our options, my hoodie, the pre-lock show, NFL pre-lock show guys. I'm one of them on there as well. Tournament Tactics mug, hoodie, all the other regular designs. That'll be in the description below. And as always, best of luck, everybody.